Welcome to the channel. My name is Matthias. Today we're going to talk about the further adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, issues 3 and 4. Here we get the origins of one of my all-time favorite villains, Mr. Sinister. The story is written by Peter Milligan, and we have art by John Paul Leon. Now, Leon's art, I think it's very interesting. It's very stylistic. But at moments, I think maybe there's issues with the colorist and the inking because some panels, they're not super clear what's going on. So in this story, we have Cyclops and Phoenix. They find themselves in the past. They were actually teleported into the far future where they had to deal with Apocalypse and bringing up young Cable. When returning to the present, they were actually teleported way into the past by this character who is part of the Ascani. Her name is Sanctity. Unknown to Cyclops and Jean, she sends them to the past to make sure that Nathaniel Essex becomes Sinister in the first place. Because if this happens, we secure the birth of Cable, who's going to be the Messiah in the future. Now, I'm missing the two first issues of this miniseries, but with issues 3 and 4, you get the main idea of the story. So now we have Scott and Jean way back in 1859. The story starts off, we have Nathaniel Essex with Jean Grey. She's fighting against one of Apocalypse's minions, one of his experiments, who's trying to capture this young kid. His name is Oscar. When Nathaniel Essex actually sees Jean Grey use her powers, he goes totally crazy because he had hypothesized the existence of mutants, but he had never seen one in action. While this is going down, we have Cyclops having to deal with Apocalypse. They're in battle. And Salvanor is able to subdue him, and the way he uses his technomorphing powers, it's super cool. How he's able to cancel out Cyclops' optic blast. So what we discovered during this time is Nathaniel Essex, his wife, had died during childbirth, and it seems that the relationship was not great at all. Her last words to Nathaniel were that she sort of really resented the fact that he was hyper-focused on science and not on his family, that he was cold and heartless, and that he was sinister. And then she dies. So this sort of pushes Nathaniel into forging this alliance with Apocalypse to dedicate his life into studying science and pretty much just trying to forget his past life. He can't deal with the pain of having lost his wife and unborn child, even though he neglected his relationship. So what we discover with Apocalypse is that he has reawakened and he wants to jumpstart the age of Apocalypse. He actually goes to the Hellfire Club and tells each one of the members, look, we have to push for two things. First, we need a global war, and I know each one of you are politically very powerful. Do what you can to make things as complicated as possible on an international level, while I'll be the catalyst to this whole international conflict. And at the same time, he has plans of unleashing a plague upon the world. Here's where Nathaniel Essex fits in. He's going to bioengineer this plague. So, obviously, the members of the Hellfire Club, who are severely intimidated by Salvanor, they're like, okay, we'll try to do our best. And how are we going to know when to start? And Apocalypse is like, yeah, you're going to notice when everything is set into motion. So what happens is Jean Grey is able to find Cyclops, but she ends up being captured by Apocalypse 2. Now we have both characters present for the transformation of Nathaniel Essex into Mr. Sinister. Now, what's really well done in the story is that Cyclops really, really hates Mr. Sinister. He's been the evil puppeteer behind his whole life and his brother's life havocs. The thing is, the harder he tries to stop the birth of Mr. Sinister, more he puts him down the path that will lead him to be the guy that ruins his own life. If that makes any sense. So now we have Mr. Sinister proper. He has been modified by Apocalypse. And what happens is he discovers Salvanor's plans, and he's really not on board with them. The whole idea of this plague will pretty much ruin any future scientific investigations that Essex wants to do. So what happens very early on in this alliance between Apocalypse and Sinister, Essex decides to betray him. By this time, Cyclops and Jean had already escaped. They were hot on Apocalypse's trail, because what Insabanur was going to do is pretty much just kill off the British royal family. In Apocalypse's eyes, he views that this assassination will spark World War I 80 years before it should happen. So what happens is Cyclops and Jean try to stop Apocalypse, but out of nowhere, Apocalypse just falls down. He has no energy. He actually has been infected by Mr. Sinister, by the plague that he was commissioned to make. The way Essex bioengineered this plague, it only affects Insabanur. Apocalypse actually has to retreat. So what happens is Sinister and Apocalypse meet back at Insabanur's secret lair. Sinister gives his reasons why he stopped Apocalypse in the first place. And the really interesting thing is that Insabanur actually tells Sinister, hey, I'm sort of impressed with what you did. That shows some really fantastic initiative of a strong person. But if you try to screw me over again, I will kill you. Which Sinister will do further down the line when he infects Apocalypse with the techno-organic virus. There they find out that this whole adventure was to make sure that Nathan becomes Mr. Sinister in the first place. Now with this mission done, they're sent back to their present. Also, I guess after this, Sanctity goes to the present or the early days of the X-Men to make sure that Master Mold knows who are the 12. But that's for a whole nother video. So I'm going to leave this one here. I hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time. Bye.